Thank you all so much for taking the time to join me today. I know you're all really busy, and I appreciate you learning a little bit more about identified technologies and drone technology and what it can mean for you and your business. My name is Barry Rapkin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Identified Technologies. I'm a graduate of Carnegie Mellon Tepper School of Business, and I did two .com startups before coming here and was just blown away by the technology they have and what it has to offer. We've been featured by TEDx, NBC, CNN, Inc., Pittsburgh Business Times, UAS Magazine, TechCrunch, South by Southwest, and many more for our technology. The agenda for today is we're going to go through quickly the basics everyone should know about drones, tell you a little bit about how drones can benefit your industry specifically. Then we're going to go through what you need to be ready for FAA inspection, and then just open it up for general audience Q&A. And then we're going to finish off with a special limited time offer just for our live attendees. So with that, one of the questions we get pretty often is, why are drones suddenly so popular? Why the explosion? Remote control or RC planes and helicopters have been around for decades. So why now today are they so hot? Well, the answer is this. For most people who have used RCs in the past, this picture pretty well summarizes the experience. They're incredibly hard to steer. They're cheap, flimsy toys, and you can't do anything with them functionally. And because they're so hard to steer, you're probably going to break them pretty quick. So they weren't really appropriate for commercial or professional applications. So what changed? Why all of a sudden is there this massive interest in drones? It's a combination of effort from the government and the private sector innovations. So NASA has been working for decades on miniaturized flight controllers that can help steer the aircraft and help it know where it is. The U.S. Navy has been working on GPSs, and these used to be massive machines. Now most of us have them in their smartphones. We have miniaturized sensors like accelerometers and gyroscopes also in our smartphones that help it know exactly where it is at any given moment. And we have miniaturized digital cameras like GoPros and many other brands that let us capture high resolution data in a very small and portable device. And all those things combined with traditional model aircrafts open up a host of new possibilities. Which begs the question, what drone is right for you and your business? Drones are not all created equal. You can get anything from a $93 million Global Hawk by Northrop Grumman that weighs about 3,200 pounds, or 32,000 pounds, excuse me, and can fly for about 28 hours. Or you can get a little toy like a Phantom Vision, and that weighs about 2.8 pounds and can fly for about 25 minutes. So there's a huge range, not just in cost, but in capabilities and what they have to offer you and your company. We're seeing early applications for drones now for real estate, for sports, for movies and TV commercials, and probably more important for you, we're seeing them used for industrial job site data collection. Now, mostly today that's done just by hand. So we have these sensors, but it's still largely a human being piloting the drone and capturing the data you need. The issue there is there's a lack of consistency and accuracy. No human being can run the exact same flight path every time. Now, there is flight controller software, as I mentioned before, that NASA has been working on that lets you basically select the perimeter of the area that you want to cover and then run a programmed flight path for consistent and accurate data collection every time. So you're just going to cover sort of a lawnmower pattern, and in the most efficient, perfectly repeatable flight path, capture the exact data you need. And what's important about this is that means you're not going to be hitting any obstacles. You're not going to be going on someone else's property. You're going to have perfect repeatability, and you're not going to leave anything out. as you might with a manual data collection. And this is being used in a variety of industries, in agriculture, in construction, in landfills, in mining, oil and gas, mapping, and surveying. And probably the most common misunderstanding of drones in industry is that all they're good for is collecting photos and maybe some video. And while they can certainly do that, they're capable of much, much more. You can automate advanced surveying, mapping, and monitoring. Not only can you do 2D distance measurements to know exactly, let's say, how long a building is or the distance between two structures, you can get 3D volumetric analysis. And that has huge applications in mining, measuring aggregate piles, in construction or excavation, if you're doing earth moving projects and you need to measure cuts and fills. You can get 3D point clouds. You can do contour line maps, digital surface models or DSMs, orthomosaic overlays. You can do site risk prevention and response and automate the monitoring of important or vulnerable structures such as pipelines. And you can check as-built overlays and confirm as-built versus as planned with your team, with your clients and your partners. And previously, when this data needed to be collected, usually it was chartered by either boots on the ground or by planes, which can be very expensive, potentially put human workers in harm's way, and be very time consuming. It's not uncommon for a large job site to take 1 to 2 months to have a 2-man survey team cover it, especially if you're talking about hundreds of acres. And if you're getting a chartered kind of standard aerial from a helicopter or a plane, it's not uncommon at all to wait a month from the time you book it till they're actually on your site, and then another month to get the data back. Our system's a little different because the data is on demand. Whenever you want to run the job, you run the job, and you'll usually have the data back within a few days or less. You've seen what we can do today. In the very, very near future, we're going to be rolling out gas detection and methane, multispectral detection, and thermal imaging. We're already doing tests with that on partner sites now, and it will be part of our standard rollout shortly. The most common issues with drones are their limited distance, because they have to be light enough to fly. The batteries are very heavy. They only have very limited flight time. And the issue there is generally the batteries have to be exchanged and charged by hand, and the batteries can explode. So there's definitely a danger there. And it can be tedious. Just if it's a large job, you may have to swap out batteries repeatedly. So if you want to manually have drones or UAVs used for your projects, these are the steps that you would need to follow. You need to train your staff in drone safety, flight, and FAA regulations. Oh, sorry, UAV is unmanned aerial vehicle, for anyone unfamiliar with the term. It's used interchangeably with drone. You need to file for and receive an FAA Section 333 approval, and we'll get deeper into that shortly. You need to source and purchase the correct safety insurance. You need to buy or design the correct drone for your needs. You need to select the area you want to scan. You need to charge the battery. You have to take off the drone. You need to perfectly steer it, maintain the exact right boundaries, perimeter, and altitude. And you'd have to land and swap and charge batteries continuously until the job was done. Once all that was done, you do a final landing, you download all the data, you'd have to buy or design the correct software to interpret the data, you'd have to process the data into secure mapping reports, you'd have to act on those data insights, you'd have to maintain the units, and then you'd have to buy a new drone if it malfunctions, it's damaged, or lost. So even though drones have a lot of really impressive capabilities, to manually steer them is not a small undertaking. And to bring them into your operations, it still has a lot of steps and a lot of hurdles. And that's where we come in. That's how Identified Technologies is different from other drone companies. We automate virtually every single process. So you only have to do the steps that only you can do. We take care of helping out with the FAA regulations. And again, we're about to get deep into that. We can source and purchase safety insurance, and we already have our own. We already have a custom designed drone specifically for industrial data collection. All you have to do is select the area that you want to scan, and our system will charge the batteries, take the drone off automatically, steer it perfectly over the site, maintaining the consistent altitude and staying within the perimeter. It will land and swap and charge the batteries automatically. It will repeat that until the job is completed. It will automatically download the data. We already have our own custom designed software that will interpret it and process it. You just get that data, so you know exactly what your volumetrics are, what your DSMs are, what your orthomosaics, whatever you need. We do all the maintenance on the units, and if anything goes wrong, if the drone malfunctions or is damaged, we will overnight you another one, no questions asked, so business isn't held up. So I just want you to see the difference between the experience of using identified technologies for your job site data collection needs and you trying to do it manually. This is a quote we had from one of our customers. This is John Mackin, construction site manager of Mosquero Construction. He said, "We had outdated topographical maps when we budgeted for our earthwork on site. Our estimates were 20% off in the wrong direction. We were the ones that had to absorb that risk and error. I wish we had identified technologies data before we started." And I'm going to play you a quick video, again, just kind of showing what we do and what we can offer your business. And this is on our homepage if you ever want to go back to it. So we made that because we wanted to convey just how fast this process is. You're not waiting 2 months to get your data back. Ideally, you're waiting 2 days. And that means that you're paying less for rentals on equipment. You're paying less for staffing. You're not having to apologize to customers because the project's coming in late. And you also have this data that you can share with, again, your team, your customers, your leadership, future customers. You have all that data that you can share and make sure everyone's on the same page and prevent misunderstandings before they become real problems. So just to review again, you select the data or the area that you'd like the drone to survey. The drone automatically takes off, captures the data, lands itself. We have a drone dock where it will swap and charge the battery automatically and upload the data securely up to the cloud, where you can then access the data and use it to monitor the progress on your site and share it with your team. And I appreciate your patience. This brings us to kind of the meat of it, the covering what you need to be ready for FAA inspection as far as drones go. So I've shown you a little bit about kind of what drones can offer you in terms of data and mapping. I want to tell you a little bit about the impact that drones are likely to have on the economy over the next few years. This is from Fortune magazine. If the Federal Aviation Administration meets its 2015 deadline for integrating unmanned aircraft systems, or UAS, into the national civilian airspace, the total domestic economic impact will reach more than $82.1 billion between 2015 and 2025, creating more than 100,000 high-paying jobs in the process. So there's going to be a lot of money and a lot of impact from drones in the near future. And we all see articles about drones every day, but FAA drone laws can be confusing and are changing frequently, leaving people wondering how can their company use drones legally. So we're going to be going into the past, present, and future of drone regulations. But I should say there's currently no national regulations governing the use of drones for commercial applications. And that's what we're going to be talking more about. And since these policies are in constant transition, this presentation is not legal advice. So right now, drones are legal for commercial use, and that's likely only to be more and more true in the future. Drones are transforming the way industrial companies capture and track their job sites and equipment, dramatically increasing speed, precision, efficiency, and safety. To legally protect your company without getting left behind, the FAA requires that your team and partners operate under their regulations. So in the 2015 notice for proposed rulemaking, the FAA recognizes that drones are safe if flown without a private pilot's license, as long as the operators follow the basic safety guidelines, which are included but not limited to operating only during daylight, and that's the set sunrise to sunset in your area. It's staying clear of manned aircrafts, in particular airports. It's important never to fly near an airport. They shouldn't hit a maximum airspeed above 100 miles per hour. They shouldn't hit a maximum flight altitude of 400 feet above ground level. The unmanned aircraft must remain within visual line of sight of the operator or observer. And they should be careful not to have any careless or reckless operations. Even before official federal rulings are released, companies can operate commercially under the Section 333 exemption, which states, by law, any operation in the national airspace requires a certified and registered aircraft, a licensed pilot, and an operational approval. After getting a 333, a certificate of authorization, or COA, is required. The COA process makes applicable FAA air traffic control facilities aware of proposed UAS operations and provides the FAA the ability to consider airspace issues unique to UAS operations. Now, I mentioned before that it's important that the operator has line of sight to the drone. The reason for that, there's something called the CFR 91.113 or DSA systems. And currently in the code, it says when weather conditions permit, regardless of whether an operation is conducted under instrument flight rules or visual flight rules, vigilance shall be maintained by each person operating an aircraft so as to see and avoid another aircraft. And again, this is a list of kind of what the requirements are to detect, to sense, or avoid for aircrafts. But there's huge progress underway right now. Intel, Qualcomm, and NVIDIA are having kind of a high-stakes competition. They're all throwing in tens of millions of dollars to develop chips for see and avoid technology for drones. Intel is working with a German drone maker called Ascending Technologies on collision avoidance. NVIDIA is working on deep learning capabilities using its current graphical processing units. And Qualcomm just announced an automotive-grade Snapdragon chip called the 602A. So currently, we can already use drones, but we're just using them in open areas. We fly above trees or cranes or anything like that. But in the near future, the sky's going to be the limit because we'll be able to actually use this kind of technology in the drone for seek and avoid. So you won't need human oversight anymore, and you won't have a line of sight for the drone. What that could mean for you is you're steering this, or it's being steered automatically in a building. It can mean that it goes off at the same time every day, takes off, scans the area, lands itself, and you just get that daily update without even having to assign a staff member to watch it. It can mean that the drone is going across 100 miles of pipeline every day, every week, every month, whatever you need, automatically with zero oversight. So this is what the near future of drone technology is going to enable. Some other future and international trends we expect to see. The FAA is expected to release new policies within the next 12 to 24 months. The US is expected to follow the drone regulations other countries have already developed. And Mexico and Brazil have been very friendly to drones. They allow open commercial drone use. Australia only requires easily attainable identification for commercial drone use. And New Zealand doesn't even distinguish between personal and commercial use and allows both completely freely. These countries are all enjoying the powerful commercial applications of drone technology, and the US has stated that they don't want to fall behind competitively. Robotics and drones are expected to become as indispensable a force to business over the next few years as business. I'm sorry, let me start that over. Robotics and drones are expected to become as indispensable a force to business over the next few years as computers and the internet are today. And if you think about trying to run your business without computers or the internet, in 10 years, that's what it's going to be like trying to run your industrial company without drones. As I said, no business can legally operate drones commercially without a 333. It's easy to find out whether or not someone has it. You can just jump on the FAA's website. They have a search under authorizations granted via Section 333 exemptions. The screenshot of ours, feel free to go there and check it out. It's real pretty. We worked hard for it. And you want to make sure that whether it's you or one of your partners, you're only working with people that have 333s. Otherwise, it's completely illegal, and the FAA will crack down. Some people wonder, do we even really need to worry about this? Do companies really need to follow drone regulations? And this is from Brad Kozin. He's a Pittsburgh, PA chief pilot in ATP. He said, if you or your contractors are flying drones commercially, the FAA will knock on your door to inspect your business records, and they will shut you down if you aren't fully compliant. These FAA inspections are only a matter of when, not if. So while we firmly believe that drones have huge benefits and powerful applications, it's important to follow the FAA's requirements, do what they need, or there will be consequences. That said, flying drones is 100% legal as long as you follow the regulations. So with a 333 exemption, it's completely legal to use drones for commercial purposes as long as the proper regulations are followed. And for a lot of companies, rather than attempt to establish several different internal drone departments, many Fortune 500 industrial companies work with identified technologies to customize the integrated regulatory, technical, and operational drone strategy for their organization's unique needs. This is our wheelhouse. We have a lot of experience in it. And if you have questions, or this is something you're interested in, you see the potential, you could see what this technology is going to be and what it can offer you, but you're just a little nervous about how to navigate the FAA and how to keep your nose clean, talk to us. We would love to help you through that process. With that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A. If you go in, there's a Q&A tab. If you kind of bring the mouse onto your screen, it'll pop up, and you can just enter whatever questions you're curious about. I'd be real happy to help. And it may take a minute just because of lag for it to come through on my side. So while you guys are inputting your questions, I promised you a special offer just for live attendees. So let me get to that. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer. I know a good amount about our products, but if you have questions, the best person for you to talk to is Mr. Jeffrey Black. He's our senior business consultant. He's worked with HP, the US Army, and SAP. He's an expert in drone technology for industrial applications and just knows our product forward and backward. So if you're curious about, again, the laws, where the technology is going, whether or not it's right for your business, I'd invite you to book a free 15-minute consultation. You just go to this link. It's https://black.youcanbookme. And I know Jeff would be happy to take some time with you, learn a little more about your company and your challenges, and see if drones would be right for you. So with that, I'm going to take a look and see if some questions are coming through. Okay. I'm not seeing too many questions yet, so let me just answer a couple of common ones that we get frequently. And again, if you bring your mouse onto the screen, once you've opened this up in a window, it'll let you enter whatever questions you're curious about. And I would invite you to follow up. If there's any questions you have that we don't get to today, you can just set it up with Jeff and on this link here with the You Can Book Me. So one kind of common question we get, it's a little bit fun, is why is your drone system called the Boomerang? Well, it's because a boomerang always comes back. With this, you just hit the button to send the boomerang drone out, and after automatically capturing your aerial mapping data, it just automatically comes right back to you by itself. It lands itself, uploads its data to the cloud, and swaps its charges its batteries. So you don't need any piloting, training, or maintenance. So we call it the Boomerang because it's just as simple, it's just as reliable, and it always comes back. A common question is the Boomerang's data accurate? Very important question. So our 2D and 3D mapping data exceeds the requirements of almost any job. We have sub-centimeter precision. We're within less than a percentage of LiDAR and at 99.6% of standard aerial accuracy. For virtually any job, that's more than adequate. And if that's something you're interested in, you can click our case studies tab on our website. And there's a case study we did specifically about how the Boomerang compared to standard aerial. And that goes in depth with a great white paper and webinar. And if you're interested in the FAA regulations also, there's a nice white paper also right below this video that we invite you to download. One question we've had in the past is, can you use your own drone, or do you have to use the Boomerang? We do require that you use the Boomerang. There's two main reasons. One, most hobbyist drones just can't take the sort of punishment of an industrial job site. They can't take the weekly or daily use, and they just aren't reliable enough. So they'll just fall apart. And the second reason is all our tools, all our software, all our hardware, it's all calibrated to our exact system. So it guarantees a really high level of precision and accuracy. I mentioned this before, but if the Boomerang does malfunction, if it stops working, if it flies away, you're not out that money, and that's different than any other drone solution. If you're using a $50,000 mapping drone and it flies away or it's damaged, you're just out that money. With us, if there's a problem, we'll take care of you and we'll overnight your replacement. We are set up though with multiple fail safes. and the drone is set up so if it malfunctions, normally it will return back to the dock automatically and land automatically. Um, and if the communication signal to the boomerang cuts out mid-flight, it will just automatically bring itself down slowly for a safe and controlled landing. People often ask if we work with international companies. We absolutely do. Our focus of this webinar has been the FAA, just because it's a question in a lot of American firms' minds. But we are proud to work with many international partners anywhere in the world. And we've actually seen a lot of countries, as we mentioned earlier, that have much more progressive laws, and where flying drones commercially is already a big part of their industry and part of their economy. We've had a lot of requests lately for maps that are certified and stamped by a third-party firm for verification, and we can offer that. We currently offer stamp products through a third-party civil engineering and surveying firm. So if you need stamped maps, it's no trouble. So I want to remind you guys, as much as I love this technology, if you have questions, the best person for you to talk to is going to be Jeffrey Black. It's this link on the page here at black.youcanbookme. And if you're curious about whether or not our system would be right for you, or kind of what the capabilities of our system is, please take the time, book the 15 minutes with him. He'd love to learn more about who you are, what your needs are, and if we'd be a good fit. So with that, I'll answer maybe just one or two more questions, and I'll let you guys get back to your busy days. So the question is, does your system use the Wi-Fi or cellular network? And our system has a built-in hotspot to use cellular. We can also use a customer's Wi-Fi if it's available. If you don't have Wi-Fi or a cellular signal, satellite transfer and signal relay stations are both good options. And another is, can you mount new cameras or sensors on your system? The answer is yes. We can use almost any sensor, and we're willing to customize our system for your specific need, as long as the sensors aren't prohibitively large or heavy. So if you have some 50-pounder, our drone's going to complain pretty bad if we try to attach it. But as long as it's light and small, we're happy to customize. Okay, great question. What is the value in getting the data faster? So for most businesses, the faster you can move, the more money you can make, quite simply. And in fact, the lower your costs are, because every day that goes by, you're paying for rentals, you're paying for equipment, you're paying for staff. So for any fast-moving job site, old data is inaccurate data. If you're doing an earth-moving project, moving 2 million yards of dirt, and I'm giving you data from a month ago, you don't know where you're at today, and you can't make decisions accordingly. And if it takes your current mapping team a month to get you your data, by the time you receive it, the data is already wrong. So this is going to lead to cost overruns, miscommunications, unexpected delays, timeline bottlenecks, and in the end, disappointed and lost customers, as well as accidents and unnecessary stress that could have been avoided if you just had the updated, accurate data beforehand that we provide. And what that lets you do, if you're running behind, you can get more staff, you can get more rentals. And if you're ahead, it means you can get up, not pay for the extra month on some of this equipment. We just did a massive project in Kentucky, where for a piece of equipment, they were paying over $5,000 every day for a massive rock crusher. And we were able to save them considerable time on that job and save them huge costs in terms of rental fees and employees, as well as leave the customer happier to get the job done early. And I mean, That was another case study. So if that's something you're interested in, on kind of what's the value to this, how does it actually save your business money or help you make more money? Again, please check out, if you go in our case study section and look at our recent one we did on how our technology can help end late and over budget projects. We go really in depth, both in a white paper and webinar, on how we're making that difference. So with that, I would just invite you, please do take the time to book that appointment with Jeff at Black Dot. You can book me. I really enjoyed speaking with you all today. I know you're all incredibly busy, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time. We're going to be sending out an email with a link to this webinar as a recording. So if you'd like to access it later or share it with your team, if you think there's people that could benefit from this technology in your company, coworkers, peers, but that are a little hesitant, they don't quite understand what the FAA regulations are and they're a little cautious, this would be a great resource to share with them. And also there's a white paper